I was all set to confess my feelings to my crush, Anna, the school sweetheart, when suddenly I saw a comment pop up. Poor guy, he doesn't even know it's Anna's twin sister, Vivian, coming. Swapping identities, what fun. Anna's in the control room watching the show. I can't wait to see Vivian pretend to be her sister, accept his confession, and then reveal everything. He'll cry his eyes out. Playing dumb, I said to the fake Anna, Anna, I'm sorry. The truth is, I've always liked your sister, Vivian. Everything I ever did towards you was because I imagined you as her. Even today's confession was because I was thinking of her. But now I realize I can't do that anymore. My words hung in the air. Vivian looked shocked. Anna, in the control room, shattered a glass in anger, bloodied her hands, and stormed in. I stood in the suite's bathroom, feeling both excited and anxious. The person I liked was about to arrive, Anna, who had everything. Family background, grades, and looks. I'd been working hard to earn money for the most perfect confession. Booked the best suite, filled it with flowers. I turned off the water, ready to go outside and wait. Then my phone started buzzing over and over. I looked down and saw a junk app had mysteriously appeared. Feeling a weird twinge, I opened it. It was streaming a live feed. The screen showed a flower-filled, empty private suite. It looked exactly like the one I set up today. Scrolling comments popped up, buzzing with excitement. Poor guy, doesn't even know Vivian, the twin sister, is coming. Swapping identities, fun stuff. Anna's in the control room watching. Can't wait till Vivian pretends, accepts his proposal, reveals the truth, and he cries. These sisters sure know how to play their games. I can't believe they'd waste this much money just to amuse everyone. Clutching my phone, I stared at the screen in disbelief. Then gold-lettered comments slid by, eager. I know the backstory. Anna once saved him from bullies, and he fell for her. He thought his crush was hidden, but Anna knew all along. I worried she might fall for him. Vivian came back from abroad, found out, and suggested the switcheroo for kicks. Anna didn't hesitate to agree. She even nudged him to confess. Who doesn't say these girls know how to play? I gripped my phone harder. Those comments felt like ropes tightening around my throat, suffocating me. Flashbacks connected in my brain of moments with Anna. My dad has a company, but it's nothing compared to powerful families. I'm not the favorite, everyone knows. Mom died when I was young. After her funeral, Dad brought in his outside family. My stepmom moved me from the master bedroom to a tiny room in the basement. I was a young master in name only, living like a servant. At school, bullies targeted me. Justin, I'm doing you a favor, they'd say, roughing me up. I couldn't break free, but then Anna appeared, looking annoyed. Hands off, pack it up, she ordered. The bullies scattered, showing fake smiles. I looked up at Anna, eyes red, and thanked her. Anna stood tall above me, a small smile. Need my help? The wind lifted her dress's hem. It made my heart race. From then on, nobody bothered me. I started watching Anna secretly. Knowing we're worlds apart, I was content silently liking her. Then one afternoon in an empty study room, she sat next to me. It's noisy on the rooftop. I'll nap here. Wake me up when you leave. She seemed aloof, yet my heart pounded. Sunlight lit the room. I blocked it from her sleeping face. How long you been at this? She woke suddenly, caught me off guard. Anna's eyes were deep. The fruit candies, hangover candy in my desk. They're from you, right? And the good luck charm? Panicked. The fruit candy to cheer her up, hangover candy because she frequented clubs. She was born with everything in the top tier, best of everything. Still, I wanted to be kind even if she didn't need it. The charm was a prayer for her safety. After hearing she'd survived a bad accident, I kept quiet, fearing the truth. Anna smiled lightly. Justin, do you have a favorite season? I hesitated. Summer, maybe. Anna gazed warmly. I like winter. But I wonder if winter likes me. That moment, noise vanished, leaving only my heartbeat. That's when I decided to confess, because of her words. I thought Anna might like me too. But everything was just a game manipulated by her and her twin. She'd known I liked her yet turned it into entertainment for everyone. With Vivian. My phone buzzed anew, snapping me back. He's still not out of the bathroom. Vivian should be here soon. Can't wait to see him cry after they trick him, they said. I turned off my phone, looked in the mirror, and smirked. Cry my eyes out? Not a chance. Anna, you turned down my affection. Now I'll make good use of you. I put away the phone, stepped out. I didn't bother finding the hidden camera. I just surveyed the suite, thinking how foolish I'd been. The door swung open. Vivian pulled her hair back, revealing an identical face to Anna's, all classy and beautiful. She was good at pretending. But the vibes these two are giving off are actually different. Whenever Anna looks at someone, there's this subtle air of superiority. It's not overwhelming, but you definitely feel a bit of pressure. Right now, though, standing before me is Vivian. Her gaze speaks of someone who's used to having their way, a bit rebellious. Justin, did you set all this up? Vivian asks as she steps closer, scanning the room. Her eyes fixate on a corner for a few seconds before moving on, like nothing happened. I pretend not to notice, smiling at her. Yeah. Vivian's eyes land on my face. Justin, you said you wanted to tell me something today. What's up? I blink, feigning ignorance, and call out, Anna. I notice Vivian's eyebrows lift slightly. I take a couple of steps forward, guilt in my eyes. Anna, I'm sorry. It's actually your sister, Vivian, that I've always liked. Vivian seems puzzled, like she didn't see this coming. I continue, my voice trembling a bit. Everything I did to you, I was just imagining you were her. I planned to confess today thinking of you as her. But now I realize I can't keep lying to myself. I can't see her in you anymore. The room goes so quiet, it's unnerving. Vivian remains standing, breaking the silence after a pause. Justin, what kind of game are you playing? You claim you know Vivian, yet you say you like her. I press my lips together and say softly, we know each other. It's just that you don't realize it. Maybe she's forgotten too. Vivian's expressions darken as she fixes her gaze on me. I feel my eyes welling up with emotions. When I was 7 at your grandpa's birthday banquet, my family took me there. Vivian smiled and handed me a piece of cake. Vivian frowns, trying to recall, then says irritably, just for that? Seeing she doesn't remember, I'm more assured. I mentioned this knowing she likely wouldn't remember. That banquet, Anna was busy and absent. It was just Vivian with her grandpa. Especially given so many people were there, at such a young age, details like that would slip anyone's mind. But the truth? She never gave me any cake. Didn't even glance my way. With tears threatening, I insist with a stubborn seriousness, yes, just that. Before that party, I was locked in a tiny windowless room by my stepmother. A whole day and night. And it was my birthday. Nobody noticed, no cake at all. Since my mom passed, I hadn't had cake. So about her, the memory stayed with me. Vivian watches my tears ready to fall. After a long pause, he speaks reluctantly, so all that sucking up, it was for Vivian? My lashes flutter. A tear finally escapes. I'm sorry. I heard Vivian was sent abroad after that, probably wouldn't return. But seeing you on the rooftop that day, I mistook you for her. So I tried to be nice to you like I was being nice to her, grateful for that cake. Vivian looks at me, his eyes filled with mixed emotions. As he stays silent, I lower my head and go on. But now, I can't trick myself into thinking you're her. Sorry. I look up, tears falling slowly. Vivian's pupils contract. As if beyond his control, he reaches to wipe my tears. But just as his warm fingers reach my eyes, the door slams open. Anna storms in, face clouded with anger, holding a shattered glass, blood trickling down her hand. I glance at her, hearing her command softly, Justin, come here. I remain still, gazing at her, feigning fear as I step behind the person in front of me. Anna's face darkens even more at my action. How come you're here? Vivian shifts slightly, blocking Anna's view, casually asking. I pretend to be puzzled, then act surprised looking at Vivian. Vivian raises an eyebrow, unfazed, even with a playful grin. Justin, let me introduce myself. I'm Vivian, the one you just confessed to. Before I can speak, Anna strides over, pulling me forward. Enough's enough, she declares, looking at Vivian, leaving no room for argument. Vivian shrugs, reaching out to hold my wrist. I don't mind, but I'm taking him with me. I still have questions for him. Anna glances at his hand. Let go. Don't make me repeat myself, she says coldly. The Anna in front of me isn't the one I acted with. This is the real her. Vivian hesitates, loosening his grip. I ask Anna softly, why didn't you come yourself? I remember texting you. Anna's jaw tightens momentarily before falling into silence. Lowering my head with a hint of sarcasm, I smile faintly. Were you avoiding me because you thought I'd confess? I continue, seeing Anna's lashes quiver as she opens her mouth. I interrupt. Doesn't matter. Wasn't meant for you anyway. Thanks for sending your sister. It fulfilled my wish after all. Confessions should be for the one you love, not a stand-in. Anna winces at stand-in, eyes flashing irritation. Justin, I'll give you another chance. Think carefully and say it again. I glance at Vivian's unreadable eyes, then Anna, suppressing her anger. I quip, you pushed her towards me. What's the issue now? Anna's eyes twitch, standing stunned but holding on to me tightly, impossible to escape. As tension builds, a guard comes in, phone in hand. There's a call for you, he tells Anna softly. Anna returns to her usual demeanor. Taking advantage of her distraction, I pull away, heading out. Vivian immediately follows, blocking the guard from coming closer. Stay put, don't intervene. Anna, phone in hand, neither stops the guard nor mentions love again. Instead cryptically says, Justin, I'm hurt. I'm bleeding. My hand hesitates on the door. I turn to the man standing among the petals, politely distant. You should probably get a doctor. The streetlights cast a warm glow in the night. The phone stopped buzzing the moment Anna showed up. That was when the stream probably ended. Justin, were you serious about what you just said? All over a cake? Vivian, who'd been trailing along, asked again. I paused under a streetlight, looking toward her in its warm yellow glow. Underneath that pretty exterior is a cruel soul. These people don't understand respect or appreciate genuine feelings, yet they constantly seek others' genuine feelings. It's both ironic and amusing. Those who are good at letting people down fear being let down. Anna is like that, and so is Vivian. So, I joined your game to give you a taste of your own medicine. I thought to myself, but showed a serious expression. Just because of a cake. Vivian smirked slightly, so what do you want? Many say they like me for my status, wealth, what about you? I tilted my head, smiled at her slightly. Maybe I want more. I want you for who you are, and for your sincerity too. The light stretched our shadows long. Vivian's usual mischievous grin slowly faded. After some time, she lightly coughed, releasing my hand. Smooth talker. I turned her palm up with my wrist and placed a piece of fruit candy there. This was meant for you anyway, returning it to its rightful owner. Vivian looked at the candy in her palm, a hint of innocent confusion in her eyes. Sweet. I'm heading back. I waved at her, turned around, and wiped the smile off my face as I strode away. After some distance, I faintly heard Vivian's voice. It really is sweet. Back home, piano sounds and scolding echoed together. I've taught you so many times. How can you still play it wrong? How can you perform at the birthday party like this? If you can't perform, how will you catch the attention of a good family? What good is raising you should never have brought you along. Stepmother scolded Gary while hitting his palm. Gary is her son from a previous marriage. When my dad met her, Gary was staying with his grandma. Later, my dad saw a photo of Gary, thought he looked handsome and could be an asset, just like how he sees me, so he had her bring Gary over. Stepmother treats me poorly, and she's not much better with Gary. Now, the only softness she shows is towards the child she's expecting. I glanced, then headed to the basement. The helper's room is tiny, but I decorated it with care. I sat on the carpet, pulled out my phone, and opened that app. The confession stream was gone, but a new one popped up. Title: How many days will it take for a fallen rich kid to woo a wealthy heiress? Clicked on it, it played back the scene of Vivian and me under the streetlight. Comments scrolled non-stop. Vivian is so generous. She's even sharing the process with us. But why would Anna be a stand-in? That's crazy. You've lost your mind. Are you? Place your bets, folks. I'm betting a month. Starting today? Yup. I'm saying a week. Why so much faith in her? Vivian definitely got charmed. Never expected her to show such a shy expression. I still think it's a long shot. After all, Vivian's seen everything. I watched the betting amounts double under different time frames. The highest hit 3,700,000. What a bunch of bored rich folks. I coldly poured all I had into the 3-day bet. 2 more days. I want both revenge and money. After that call, Anna seemed to vanish. Didn't see her at school the next day either. But Vivian called after class. Justin, I think I have a fever. Feeling awful. Vivian's voice was raspy. I kept a straight face but reacted with concern. How'd you get a fever? Taken any meds yet? Vivian coughed a bit. No meds at home. Justin, I want to see you. I gently soothed. I'll get some meds and come over. Anything you want to eat? Vivian hesitated for a moment, then mentioned a shop. I want tiramisu from that dessert place in Area A. Inside, I sneered. It's a 4-hour round trip. Yet I readily agreed, sure, I'll get it. Drink some warm water for now. After hanging up, I glanced at the gloomy sky and slowly smiled. Bought the tiramisu, and by the time I was heading back, the storm hit right on cue. When I got out at Vivian's complex, the cabbie looked at the pouring rain, kindly offered, you'll be soaked. I've got an umbrella if you need it. Paid, smiled, and declined. Tucked the tiramisu and meds into my jacket, then darted into the rain. Vivian lives in one of her own big condos. I followed her directions and rang the bell. When Vivian opened the door, she stared at my drenched state, stunned for a moment. I knew the streaming camera was hidden somewhere inside. I pulled the 2 dry bags from my jacket and smiled. Thankfully, the cake and meds stayed dry. Vivian yanked me inside and slammed the door. With a tone laced with irritation, she said, "Are you stupid? It's raining. Ever heard of using an umbrella?" I gently pushed her a little. I've got a chill. Don't want to pass it to you. The rain came out of nowhere. Finished that, I rubbed my wet hands on my jacket, blew on them, and placed them on Vivian's forehead. The fever's gone down, good. Vivian couldn't hold back anymore, cupped my face, and leaned down. But she paused just short of my lips, softened her voice. Go shower. Don't catch a cold. Standing in the bathroom, I looked at myself in the mirror. Handsome yet pale, shivering. No amount of heat seemed to warm the chill. I picked up my phone, opened the app. The scene showed Vivian, in cozy loungewear, sitting on the couch, gazing out the window, lost in thought. The chat was abuzz with surprise at what just happened with me. Who wouldn't be moved? For hours in the pouring rain, just because you said you wanted cake. And the cake, along with the fever medicine, was wrapped up in a jacket, not a drop of rain touching it. Seriously, has anyone else been treated this way? Suddenly, I didn't want to watch this live stream anymore. Such a genuine person, yet we treat it like entertainment. What do you think's on Vivian's mind? By the way, where's Anna? Heard her old man called her away. Probably needed something. After all, she's the future heir. Can't be as free as Vivian. I watch the chat messages roll in, but feel nothing. The prize pool keeps growing. I turn on the shower, hot water pouring down. One more day. Those who let people down will be let down in return. That's karma in love. No one can escape it. After showering and getting dressed, there's a knock on the bathroom door. I open it to find Vivian squeezing in. She grabs the hairdryer from the cabinet with a look I don't quite get. To the couch, I'll dry your hair. I blink, a bit thrown by the sudden change of pace. On the couch, Vivian sits behind me, slowly drying my hair. I look out the large window. The rain is still coming down, like it's trying to drown the whole city. The dryer stops. Vivian wraps her arms around me from behind, her head snuggling into my neck. Justin, you smell like me now. I look down. Your shampoo and body wash smell nice. Vivian chuckles softly, a bit of teasing in her voice. I try to dodge away, but her hug tightens. Justin, tomorrow after school, I'll pick you up. We'll go somewhere. I already have a feeling, but I play it cool, asking softly. Where to? Just wait and see. She murmurs against my neck. All right, I reply. Vivian shows up after school like she promised. I see her as I leave through the school gate. Leaning against the car, tall and striking, Vivian catches people's eyes. I run over with a smile. No need to run. I'm not going anywhere. She laughs, lightly pinching my cheek. By the time we hit the mountain highway with Vivian, it's already getting dark. We climb out of the car to find a crowd and a ton of souped-up luxury cars parked around. Oh wow, so that's why Vivian's late, picking someone up, someone teases. A bunch of loud, rich kids. First time here? A girl in a leather jacket reaches out toward me. She doesn't even get to touch me before Vivian intervenes. Don't. Vivian's tone turns sharp, and the once playful vibe turns awkward. The girl glances between us, catches on quickly, and laughs. Oops, my bad. I got the wrong idea. Didn't realize you're the one Vivian so carefully arranged things for. A voice jumps in to ease the mood. Vivian, come on, weren't you aiming for first place today? Making big moves? Vivian's always first, you know that. Scooped loads of money from us, someone adds with a chuckle. Things liven up again. Vivian fits me with a helmet. Don't worry, I'm right beside you. A line of cars take off like arrows after the flag drops. The pushback makes me woozy. The winding curves make my stomach churn. I cling tight to the seatbelt. Justin, feeling okay? Vivian's voice floats through the helmet. I swallow and answer softly. I'm alright, do you always drive this fast? It's kind of worrying. For a moment, the speed seems to ease. The queasy feeling starts to fade. Outside, the world comes into focus. Cars keep zooming past us, engines roaring. When the last car overtakes Vivian, I finally speak up. Your win streak's gonna break, maybe even get last place. Vivian, I can almost hear her smile under the helmet. I don't mind getting last, if it means you won't worry. When we reach the finish, people are already gathered. Vivian, finally, I can win some money off you. Vivian helps me remove my helmet, tossing her hair. Take it. What about what I asked you guys to do? A girl beside us snaps her fingers. Vivian, look. We turn around to see the once dark highway light up like a winding river of starlight. Suddenly, a sparkling snowflake pendant necklace dangles in front of me. Vivian stands next to me, smiling gently. Justin, be with me. As she speaks, my phone buzzes non-stop. 3 days. Prize money's in hand. But before I can speak, a distant roar interrupts. Looking up, four black luxury cars race towards us, stopping before the crowd. Anna, in a tailored black suit looking commanding, strides over full of fury. Everyone who came for the show is escorted off by bodyguards. The bright as day highway suddenly falls silent. You really had the guts to come here, huh? Vivian doesn't get to finish before Anna's fist cuts her off. I watch the scene, feeling indifferent, just wondering how long this game can last. Vivian rubs her right cheek but doesn't get a word out. Anna grabs her by the collar, pushing her against a car door. Her voice is low. I thought I said everything ends here. Who gave you the nerve to keep streaming this crap? Vivian's expression hardens, voice dropped. Now you're playing the saint. Isn't that a bit rich? The first match you were on board. Weren't you? What's one more or less to you? I thought you were busy entertaining Miss Linda from G-City under your grandfather's orders. Why are you here now? Anna, holding back her anger, releases Vivian and even tidies her collar. Seems like you've had too much freedom here. Game time's over, Vivian. It's time to go home. Vivian seemed like she'd hit a nerve, standing straight as a board. Anna. Anna tilted her chin slightly upwards, like a queen who won't be defied. What did you call me? Vivian gritted her teeth, her jaw tight. After a pause, she sighed. I'm begging you. Anna chuckled, glancing at me. You'd go back home just to be someone's pet over a man? Did you forget how you begged me to find a way to get you out of here? Vivian stayed silent, looking at me for a long time, then lowered her head. a mix of avoidance and surrender. Anna gestured to someone behind her, who opened a car door nearby, signaling Vivian to get in. Vivian, you can't have it all. You chose freedom, so you can't have everything else you want. Anna's voice was soft, almost like a sigh. Before Vivian left, she glanced back at me. The necklace in her palm never made it to its destination. It stayed clenched in her hand, etched deeply into her heart, leaving a scar that wouldn't fade. I was about to call out to him when someone grabbed my hand. Justin, your lies need to end. Anna looked down at me, emotion swirling in her eyes that I couldn't quite understand. Anna took me into her private villa. Anna, let go. I pulled my hand away, glaring at her. Turning to leave, some bodyguards blocked my way. Anna, are you planning to lock me up? I turned around, yanking on Anna's clothes, pulling her slightly towards me. Who are you chasing after? Vivian? Anna let me tug at her, emotions roiling in her eyes. I sneered, yeah, because I like her. Anna frowned. Speaking up, Justin, I told you, your lie is over. I checked into it. Vivian never gave you a cake when you were 7. You guys didn't even make eye contact. So, you figured it out? I raised my eyebrows, letting go of her. And? Anna's throat worked, her voice a bit hoarse. So, the person you wanted to confess to that day was me, not her. Those candies and charms, they were for me, not her. The one you liked was me, not her. Anna sounded firm, but lacked confidence. I let her go, fixing her clothes disdainfully. My fingers snagged the red string around her neck, pulling out the charm she'd kept close. A sharp yank later, the string snapped, leaving a shallow mark on Anna's neck. Yeah, I said coldly, but then I found out you're not worth it. Anna's eyes tightened, reaching for the charm in my hand, but stopped when she saw my phone. I opened a live stream app. All the videos were gone. But Anna understood immediately, her back stiffened. You knew all along? I looked at her, no warmth at all. Yeah, I knew even before the confession, and that Vivian would show up. Didn't you approve of it, Anna? You were the first to reject my feelings, so what are you doing now? You've known for a long time that I liked you. Did you guide me to confess just for everyone's amusement? Well, were you satisfied with my performance? As I pushed her with questions, Anna had no room to retreat, lowering her head in front of me, softening for the first time. Justin, I was wrong about that. I'm sorry. I laughed, full of scorn for Anna. I don't accept your apology, Anna. I'll never forgive you, but I want compensation. Anna didn't hesitate. Okay. Without emotion, I said, I want money. Okay. Anna agreed. When I make movies in the future, when you inherit the company, you have to invest, no budget limits. Okay. Anna agreed to everything I asked. Last thing, let me go and never appear in front of me again. No. Anna lifted her gaze to me, her eyes like deep, mysterious pools. You really want to lock me up? My voice rose slightly. Anna was silent for a while, then said, I'm not locking you up. I just want you to stay here. After your exams, whatever school you want, I'll have a place ready for you there. I just want to see you, she replied. Like your dad and mom? I blurted out. After saying that, the room went still. The air felt heavy. I realized what I'd said and blinked, feeling remorseful. Anna's parents' secret was well guarded, but rumors still swirled. Anna's father loved her mother, but her mother didn't feel the same. He kept her locked up, constantly watched. In that twisted love, her mother chose to leap from a building. Anna, usually so proud, seemed to crumble bit by bit. Even though I hated her, seeing her like this pained me. My eyes stung as I looked away. I thought if I could make her hurt like I once did, I'd feel satisfied. But in the end, why does it just feel like a dull ache? Memories of the elegant girl she once was, basked in sunshine, saying she liked winter flash in my mind. But does winter like me back? She'd ponder. Turns out, hating someone started with feeling pain. After a long silence, her hushed voice came through. Justin, we're not like them. They never loved each other, we did. I blinked back the sting, holding it in. But I don't like you anymore. Could never happen again. What's the difference? Anna leaned down, resting her head on my shoulder, almost pleading. Justin, we're still young. There's so much time. I'll give you whatever you want. Just stay, give me a chance. I brought all your things from home. Don't you want a big room, a piano, the swing in the garden, and much more? I've set it all up. Let me show you, okay? Anything you don't like, I'll change. I listened to her words, all straight from my diary entries. Did you read my diary? Anna went silent. I pushed her. You're the kind of person who never learns to respect others. No wonder no one loves you. Loving someone apparently gives them the power to hurt you, like I did back then and like Anna now. Pain flickered in her eyes, and she murmured, Sorry, it won't happen again. I'll change. I'll learn. I looked away again. After all that arguing, we ended with hurtful words. Anna didn't let me leave. I looked around at the vast room. It was exactly like what I'd imagined in my diary. I peeked out the window at a swing draped in flowers, swaying gently in the breeze. The closet was full of clothes in my size, some worth thousands. Anna was like a kid learning to walk when it came to love. But I don't need it anymore. Love has a time limit, missed it, and it's just gone. Justin, dinner's ready. An aunt gently knocked on my door. I opened it and she smiled warmly. Anna didn't dare tell you, afraid you'd skip, so she sent me. She was Anna's nanny growing up, more like a gentle elder than a housekeeper. Seeing her concerned eyes, I swallowed my refusal and followed her downstairs. Anna had changed out of her suit into casual black clothes and was sitting on the couch. She looked up when she heard me. During dinner, I noticed she was still there, eyes on a book, but she hadn't turned a page in a while. She's probably scared if she comes over, you'll get angry and not eat, the aunt whispered to me. I gripped my chopsticks and didn't look at her, just finished my meal. The food was all my favorites, and the chef was excellent. When I wiped my mouth and stood, Anna finally spoke. The basement has a movie room. You love movies, right? If you want classes, I've arranged for a teacher to come over. I had no plans to acknowledge her and was preparing to leave when she hurriedly added, I've asked Susan to come by. She'll be around if free on weekends. Isn't directing your and your mom's dream? I finally looked at her. Susan, the genius director who recently won international awards for her film, Silent Mountain. I looked at Anna, polite yet distant. Thanks, you're really kind. Anna's eyes dimmed, while the aunt by her side sighed and shook her head. In the following days, Susan came over nearly every weekend. Justin, you really have talent. Probably inherited it from my mom. She was a film student. She even directed a few small projects. Unfortunately, she didn't pursue it later. She had her works burned onto discs, but they got ruined. I smiled, speaking to Susan. Actually, my stepmother destroyed them. I fought her, clawing and biting, and ended up in the darkroom for a week. Gary started sneaking me food around then, crying and apologizing. Justin, I look forward to you entering this field. I'm sure your mom would too. Anna approached me a few times, so I agreed to come. I didn't expect to enjoy it so much. Susan's lively and striking presence reminded me of my mom from her film school days. I genuinely smiled. Then I spotted Anna standing at the garden's edge. My smile faded away, and I averted my gaze. Recently, Anna always seemed to be close by, neither too near nor too far. Everything catered to my tastes, the food, the outfits, everything. One day, chatting with the auntie, I mentioned in passing that the garden was a bit dark at night. That very night, from the second-floor window, I saw Anna on a ladder, stringing star lights on each tree. Auntie handed me some warm water. Justin, I guess you had a hard time back home? I took the cup. Why do you think that, Auntie? Softly, she said, one day, Anna visited your home. She sat in the living room all night after returning. The next day, she began setting everything up. At the time, I didn't know it was all for you. I sipped the water, having no memory of it. I wasn't home then. That must have been when Anna entered my room, reading my diary. Suddenly, lights flickered. The garden, adorned with star lights, seemed like a midsummer night's dream. I watched the person standing there, and thought of that box filled with flowers. If only back then she stood in that room with the same feelings I had. A few days later, heavy rains hit City. I sat by the window reading. You can't go in. Miss Vivian, don't make it hard for us, came the voices outside. I walked to the door. It was Vivian, soaked and looking disheveled, blocked by guards. Seeing me, she stopped wrestling with them, red-eyed and staring. Justin, did Anna lock you up? I looked at her, calmly. Yes. Vivian seemed relieved, eager. Do you want to leave? I'm being sent abroad. If you want out, I'll find a way. Seeing how she escaped in such a rush made me smile faintly. Sure. Her eyes lit up for a moment, then dimmed at my following words. Well, you're dreaming, Vivian. The game's over. You're out. My smile widened, holding a hint of cruelty. Vivian stood in the rain, like a withered proud branch. What do you mean? I know all about your streams from the start. From your confession, through the 3 days it was all an act. You never brought me any cake, and I never liked you. I did it all as revenge against you. After all, this whole setup was between you and Anna, right? Vivian's voice shook. You knew everything? I nodded. Yep. So what dreams you and Anna were having? Thinking anyone could love you? Pathetic. Vivian stood in the rain, her pride diminished. You hate us. I laughed. Wrong, Vivian. I don't hate you. Hating someone takes a lot of emotion and energy. I don't just dislike you. No, I detest you. But after I got my revenge, I don't feel anything extra towards you. I just don't want to see you ever again. That's it. Now get out of here. After saying that last line, I turned to head inside, only to hear Vivian yell, What about Anna? Do you hate her? I stood there, looking at her, and said each word distinctly, I hate her. Out of all of you, I hate her the most. So, I will never, ever forgive her. Thunder rumbled in the distance, and the wind blew the rain sideways. I turned my head, almost sensing something. Anna stood tall under a black umbrella, yet there was a deep-seated sorrow about her. Vivian had been taken away again. Before she left, she apologized to me, her eyes red with sincerity. But to me it just felt amusing. The mighty fall from their high seats, only to beg at the altar of love. All because they didn't know how to cherish what they had in the beginning. Anna handed her umbrella to a nearby bodyguard and covered me with a coat from our auntie. It's chilly outside. Come on in before you catch a cold. I knew she heard everything, but she pretended not to. Anna's reminder to not get sick was almost a prophecy. After that day, I was burning with a fever. The family doctor came by again and again. Anna stayed by my bedside daily, massaging my arm bruised from the 4 drips. That day, as usual, she tried to feed me medicine. I turned my face away. Anna's voice was barely a whisper. Take your meds, you'll feel better soon. I coughed quietly. Anna, do you really want to end up like your parents? I saw her hand tremble for a moment. Then she silently rubbed my back. I won't, Justin. I was wrong before. I didn't know what love was. I even despised it. So I made a huge mistake. But I'm learning now. I really am learning how to love someone. Please, give me more time, okay? I stared at the soft blanket, whispered, Anna, do you really want to end up like your parents? The room was filled with warmth from the heater, but it felt cold. After a long silence, Anna finally spoke. Once you get better, I'll let you go. Having gotten her response, I said, okay. But before that, I need to see Gary. I have something for him. I finally looked at Anna again. Her eyes were red and pained. A sight that hurt so deeply it felt like it traveled through my veins to every inch of me. According to our agreement, Anna brought Gary to me. Then she closed the door. Are you okay? How'd you get so sick? Gary sat by my bed, worried. I looked at him, recalling how when I was kicked out of the master bedroom, he told our stepmother he didn't want to fight over anything with me. Got slapped for it too. After that, he didn't dare speak up again, but he'd quietly bring me blankets and buy me cozy home stuff. When Mrs. Wong made delicious cakes, he'd sneak a few pieces for me. At night, he'd knock on my door in the servants' quarters. Our relationship was complicated. I resented him, he made amends. I wanted to be close, but guilt made him cautious. Our father was rarely home, he had many women outside. He didn't care for any woman, nor did he love any child. Just like two fledgling birds in a big house, Gary and I clung to each other despite not being related. One year, my books on film got torn to shreds by our stepmom. Gary secretly pieced them back together and brought them to my quarters at night. Back then, Gary sat on the floor, leaning against the wall, saying, "I don't like it here. He doesn't love us but wants to control us, drown us in this stagnant place." I didn't say a word, just paged through the carefully mended book. "Do you want to be a director?" Gary's eyes sparkled as he asked. I nodded. Gary sighed, "Having a dream is nice. Unlike me, I don't know what I like or want. I can't learn anything well. You mastered that piano piece ages ago, but I couldn't play it." I continued from where he left off, "And then your mom banned me from touching piano ever again." The mention made Gary's face flush red, his head buried in his knees, silent. I chuckled, "It's not your fault." Still, he didn't say anything. I touched the book, whispered, "Gary, how about you do acting? Maybe we'll work together someday." Gary instantly lifted his head, eyes bright like stars. "Really? Yeah, I want to act." Now, the fledgling birds could finally start flapping their wings. I snapped back to reality. I waved him over and lowered my voice. "I transferred a sum of money to your account. Around $7 million. It's the prize from those 3 days." Anna knew the account belonged to me, but she didn't say or do anything about it. I took out a portion and put it in Gary's private account. I held his hand to calm him down. "Don't you want to break free from the cage and pursue acting? Now it's all possible." Gary paused, finally realizing the live stream that account was you. I nodded. He remembered asking about it, and my only response was not to worry. Seeing Gary hesitate to accept the money, I cut him off. "I kept some for myself. And Anna gave me a hefty sum. But you need to do something for me. Find someone to secretly send a message to Anna's grandfather. Tell him what's going on between me and Anna right now," I said softly. Gary blinked but didn't ask. He simply nodded firmly. After Gary left, Anna returned to her usual routine of feeding me medicine and sugar. She didn't ask him anything. It seemed she was indeed learning to respect. I waited patiently. 2 days later, Anna took a phone call and went out. I sat in the living room waiting from afternoon till late at night. Anna came back, bringing with her the chill of the night. She looked at me with suppressed emotions in her eyes. Our gazes met for a long time. Finally, she sighed softly, picked up the blanket from the couch, and knelt in front of me. "Why don't you cover up with the blanket or wear more clothes? Have you eaten? Did you take your meds today?" I placed my hand on the blanket, close to her hand. "Anna, I'm leaving tomorrow. I've already packed my bags." Anna's jaw was clenched tight. Time ticked by slowly. Anna couldn't take it any longer. She stood up, covered her eyes for a moment, then looked at me. "Justin, I agreed to let you go. You're still sick. Why do you insist on seeing Grandpa? Don't you know how terrified I am that something will happen to you? Don't you trust me?" After Anna finished, she realized what she had just said and forced a sad smile. "Justin, you saw this coming. You knew I wouldn't let anything happen to you and that Grandpa would use you against me, so I couldn't get close to you. No, wait. Ever since that confession broadcast, you've had this in mind, didn't you? Get what you wanted, get your revenge, and leave unscathed." I couldn't help but smile too. That's the clever Anna I know. But this plan had its risks. I was gambling too. Gambling on the depth of your feelings. Clearly, I won. We locked eyes, our roles seemingly reversed. She went from lofty heights to being humbled. I moved from unrequited love to indifference. I had loved Anna. Anna had loved me, but we were never in love with each other. Anna stood there in the vast living room, yet she seemed trapped, sinking in quicksand. When I got up to head to my room, her weary voice stopped me. "Before you leave, can I have the charm back?" I looked up at her and replied softly, "No. I got that after going down on my knees. Unworthy people don't get to wear it." I slowly climbed the stairs, feeling as if I were reborn. Anna remained where she stood, drowning in her own despair. That night, my sleep was restless. I dreamt of a gentle kiss on my forehead, accompanied by traces of tears, maybe someone's tears. In the morning, I was heading out with my luggage and noticed Anna with bloodshot eyes. She took my suitcase silently. "I'll drive you to the airport. Don't worry. I haven't looked into where you're going." Watching her figure, I quietly held onto the charm resting against my heart. The car ride was silent. At the airport, Anna unloaded my bags and spoke softly. "Call me if you're short on money. Or if you'd rather not, call Auntie." I listened quietly. The money Anna gave me would last a lifetime. She went on, "Auntie really likes you. She couldn't come today because she didn't want to cry. If you're ever wronged, call us. Make sure you eat well, sleep well, and stay happy." Keeping my silence, I just nodded. Then she said, "I'll follow through on my promise. I won't interfere with your movies, but the company will still invest. I hope one day you'll become a great director." I smiled at her for what felt like the first time in ages. "Goodbye, Anna." I transferred to my mom's hometown and gradually moved away from everything in the past, although I kept the charm with me. Later, I got into film school and made a lot of like-minded friends. On graduation day, I visited the cemetery. My mom's photo was there, and she was smiling gently. I sat on the ground. "Mom, I graduated. Your son's gonna be a great director. I've grown up healthy, and I've been eating and sleeping well." Time flew. For years after graduation, I ran into Gary, made up for his role in Susan's new film. I was there to observe and learn. Gary played a supporting role in this big production. Back home, due to Anna's targeting, my family's finances were tight. Dad was asking everyone for help and even called me and Gary. Neither of us answered. My stepmom's pregnancy didn't make it in the end. During a break, Susan sipped her coffee and asked, "Justin, do you still talk to Anna?" I realized my ice had fallen to the bottom of the cup, and I shook my head in confusion. Susan was unaware of what happened between Anna and me. She thought we were just dating back then. Seeing my reaction, she changed the topic. "When does your movie come out?" Holding my cup, I replied, "January 1st. Then my mind drifted again. At home, I instinctively opened a closet and saw a wool coat inside. Over the years, I bought many expensive ones, but this particular one, I neither wore nor threw away. After leaving S-City, I found this coat in my luggage, covered in a dust bag. I didn't know when Anna placed it there. It's the only piece of clothing from her I've worn. Feeling the dust bag, I suddenly got an urge to take the coat out. A tiny USB dropped out of its pocket. I picked it up, took a deep breath, and plugged it into my computer. The folder was named Winter. Inside were all my mom's little videos. Many I hadn't even found yet. I had no idea how Anna managed to discover them. Scrolling further, a video named Birthday caught my eye. When I opened it, my mom's face was there, looking just how I remembered. "Today, my baby was born. We'll call him Justin. Don't mind the simplicity. The simpler, the better. It means he'll thrive." The video continued through each birthday year. "Today, my winter baby is 1. Happy birthday. Stay safe, healthy, and live a long, smooth life. Today, my winter baby is 2. Years ago, after my mom's videos were destroyed by my stepmom, I wrote down what I could remember. I stuck those notes in my diary, imagining that seeing the words could bring back my mom's essence. And now, thanks to Anna using tech to restore them, they were hidden till this moment. Over the years, I'd hear news about Anna, listen to gossip about her, heard about her engagement, takeover of the company, and then breaking off her engagement. She kept her promise from that time. My film, indeed, received investment from Anna's company without her intervention. When the movie started filming, coffee, drinks, and nutritious balanced bento boxes were constantly delivered to the entire crew. They all came from companies under Anna's family. On the day we wrapped up, it snowed heavily. Amidst the laughter and joy, I saw someone standing far away through the snowy scene. As soon as I set my eyes on her, she turned around silently and walked away, just like she said she would. She's learning to respect, learning not to show up and disturb. On New Year's Day, I sat in the theater with a mask on, watching the beginning of my first movie. There were laughs and tears. The feedback wasn't bad at all. I smiled gently along with everyone's laughter. As the ending song played, everyone got up to leave. The lights suddenly came on. Looking at the rolling credits, I whispered into the air, "How was it, Mom?" Through the moving crowd, a breeze touched my hair, like a gentle encouragement. I stood up, smiling. "I'm so happy I didn't disappoint you." When I left the theater, snowflakes were falling. The first snow in S City had arrived. Amidst the hustle and bustle, I glanced over at a woman standing under a giant electronic billboard. She seemed to have lost some weight. Looks like she just came out from the theater too. Maybe we were in the same screening. We sat where we couldn't see each other. Snow landed on her delicate profile, like a lingering kiss. She watched for a long time, finally breaking into a soft smile. I looked up and it was my movie poster. I placed my hand over my heart, sensing the amulet burning warmly. After a moment, I turned and walked in the opposite direction, walking further and further away. I said I wouldn't like her again, wouldn't forgive. But it seems she's been waiting all along, just like at the villa that year. I stepped up one stair at a time, running towards freedom, while she stayed behind, trapped in a self-imposed prison. The girl who once said she loved summer under the sun has already run freely into her own amazing summer. And the boy who once said he loved winter under the sun is, in the end, trapped in winter.